Okay, let's dive into this. On one side, we've got the dream, right? The goal feels exciting, it's light, it's inspiring, it's full of endless energy and possibility. But then, you cross over to the other side. Starting feels heavy. That's the real visceral reality of actually executing. The second we shift from that floating, abstract idea to the concrete, physical reality of doing the work, man, it's like this massive psychological gravity just kicks in. It's not just in your head either, it's a very real, crushing weight that completely stops our momentum before we even take step one. And that brings us to what I think is the absolutely crucial insight of this whole explainer. They're not lazy, they're frozen. Just let that sink in for a second. We really spend so much time beating ourselves up over this, don't we? We think our inability to start is some deep moral failing, or a lack of character, or just plain laziness. But this brilliant observation completely reframes our inaction. You aren't lazy. Listen, lazy is a choice to do nothing because you simply couldn't care less. But being frozen, that's a temporary, overwhelming psychological state. It happens precisely because you care immensely, but you're just mentally paralyzed by the sheer weight of the task ahead. Section 1. The 3 mental traps. So if we aren't inherently lazy, why on earth do we freeze? Well, the truth is, our own brains are actively tricking us into staying stuck. There are 3 hidden traps our minds set up to help us dodge that heavy feeling of starting. Trap number 1. The brain prefers dreaming over doing. Think about the mechanics here. When you sit around visualizing your big, exciting goal, your brain gets a massive hit of instant gratification. You get to enjoy all the emotional rewards of success without spending a single ounce of actual effort. It's like taking a mental victory lap before you've even put your running shoes on. So why would your brain want to trade that perfect, frictionless fantasy for the messy, difficult reality of doing the work? Quite simply, it doesn't. It wants to stay right there in the warm comfort of the dream. Then we hit trap number 2, which is honestly the ultimate villain in this story. If it won't be perfect, they won't start. This is perfectionism acting as a total roadblock. See, when we look at our exciting goal, we picture a flawless outcome. But deep down, we inherently know that the very first step we take is going to be clumsy. It's going to be imperfect and flawed. And the fear of that messy reality creates a paralyzing anxiety. If we can't guarantee a perfect, beautiful start right out of the gate, our brains decide it's much safer to just not start at all. And then, oh man, there's trap number 3. I know for a fact this one is a favorite coping mechanism for a lot of us tuning in today. Planning feels like progress, but nothing moves. You know the drill. You buy the new notebooks, you meticulously color code the spreadsheets, you spend 3 hours reorganizing your Notion workspace. Your brain is totally tricked into feeling the momentum of progress because, hey, you're incredibly busy. But the actual difficult task, completely untouched. It's a brilliant, comforting little illusion our brain uses to feel productive while entirely avoiding the heavy lifting. Section 2. The willpower illusion. Okay, so we've identified the traps holding us back. What's the standard advice we always hear to break out of them? We're constantly told to just push through, to hustle harder, to just have more discipline. But we're about to signal a major paradigm shift in this explainer. We need to completely dismantle the deeply damaging myth that chronic procrastinators simply lack willpower. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it entirely removes the blame from your personal drive. It isn't willpower. It's the size of the first step. You don't have a motivation deficit. You actually have a structural flaw in how you're sizing up your tasks. When the step is too big, it feels terrifyingly heavy, and as a natural defense mechanism, you freeze. We have literally been diagnosing the disease completely wrong this entire time. Section 3. Shrink the first step. If the problem is strictly the size of the step, then the solution is beautifully straightforward. This right here is the ultimate physical antidote to the frozen state. And it's highly counterintuitive, mostly because our culture is so obsessed with giant leaps and overnight success. But this method is genius because it bypasses the need for willpower entirely. Step 1, make it smaller. Just think about whatever task you need to start right now and shrink the required effort. But if you're still feeling resistance, step 2, then smaller again. Make it microscopic. Make it so utterly insignificant that it requires absolutely zero willpower to execute. And then, step 3, move once. Break the spell. Just take that single, tiny action. Section 4. Action creates momentum. Taking that tiny, zero willpower step changes absolutely everything. It shatters the ice holding you in place.
By taking an action that is so incredibly small that it doesn't trigger your brain's resistance, you completely flip conventional wisdom on its head. And this brilliantly illustrates our core takeaway today. We're all taught from day one that motivation leads to action. We sit around, frozen, waiting for the magical lightning bolt of motivation to strike so we can finally start our work. But the source material reveals we've had the equation backward all along. Action creates momentum. Motivation follows after. You must act first. That tiny, shrunken first step breaks the paralysis. It creates a tiny spark of momentum, and that momentum is exactly what finally generates the motivation you've been desperately waiting for.